Hello everybody and welcome to Cabaret Secrets. My name's Gary Williams. After training at London's Mount View Academy, today's guest has developed an enviable career as an actor, presenter, singer, writer and director. Perhaps best known for his alter ego, Sister Mary McArthur. His solo performances have taken him from London's Purcell Room to New York's Don't Tell Mama. His own tribute show to Stephen Sondheim earned him a 4-star review in the Times. In pantomime, he's progressed from high-kicking chorus boy to fully-fledged dame. Tim McArthur, welcome to Cabaret Secrets.
Bloody hell, I've done a lot of things over the years.
I was wondering, the last time I saw you, I wanted to ask you, which do you prefer now, performing or directing?
Oh my goodness, that is such an interesting question. Do you know what I think, as performers, I still have the love to perform. I don't think that'll ever go away, and I love directing. I absolutely adore it, and it's really exciting being so creative. And directing is actually 25% of the job. 75% of the job is just managing everything else when you direct a show. Directing's the easy bit. It's the people management, it's organising all the technical side of things, you know, your designer, your costume designer, if it's a musical, your choreographer, your MD. You're like the puppet master, really, and then you have to obey the producer. Do you know what I mean? Who has the final shots? But you're sort of in a pecking order. I think that's how it rates.
Do you think you could only be directing stuff now, having done all the acting and the cabaret work that you've done in the past?
Oh, completely. Because my cabaret career, I first got into cabaret. I think it was in about 1997. I'd been out of Mount View for 2 years. In my first year of leaving Mount View, I was so lucky because it was like the old days when there was rep theatre.
The old days.
The old days, the good old days, dear. And within my first year of leaving Mount View, I did 5 rep jobs, which was amazing. And then I didn't work for like 9 months, and one job I got cancelled. The other one was not very good. It was in Ilfracombe. It was the Jungle Book. It was a nightmare, and we all left. And I can't remember. So there was a space, and then I just decided I need to get people to see me. What can I do? So I thought I'd just put 45 minutes songs together, and just sing and try and get casting directors in to see me to gain musical theatre work. And little did I know that would actually lead to me having this amazing cabaret career, because I sold out the venue for 4 weeks. They invited me back in the autumn to do another 3-week season. When I first started doing cabaret, I would write all my links down, so I knew exactly what I was saying between each song. And then as I did more cabaret work and I got a little bit more confident, then I would sort of not necessarily have a script but just have bullet points. And then I went completely to reverse of that and just thought, I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm just going to be in the moment and see what happens. So now I have a balance of...
And what happened?
Disaster, darling. But I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's that thing is how you get more confident. You think, actually, oh yeah, this is easy. And then you go, actually, it's not. And I think there is a real art to doing cabaret. And I think it's really underestimated. It is interesting because the people that have directed in their shows, though, one-person shows, you have to bring out that personality in a cabaret show, whether that comes through the links or the songs. And I think song choices are really important, because obviously a lot of people do cabaret and they say, my next song is, and I hate all that, my next song is, or I always try and say, find an interesting way, whether it's telling a story about your journey so far to where, living in London, or, even if it's, I did a show once called Songs That I Always Wanted to Sing But I Would Never Sing, which was like all female songs, and finding a hook or something that's interesting, something that's personal to you, because I think the more personal it is, the more that engages the audience. And cabaret to me is like having someone around for a cup of tea and having them in the front room. That's what cabaret is.
If you're putting together a cabaret show your own, or if you're helping somebody else to put a cabaret show together, it starts with a theme?
Yeah.
What's the process? What's the next step? You've got your theme, you've got your list of songs strewn all over your bedroom floor. What do you do then? I
think it's a question of then looking at what the songs say and what the song is about, as in story-wise, what's the content of the song. And then if there's another song that is saying the same thing, then because then you can decide between the two of the point you're trying to make. So the stronger one will stay and the weaker one goes.
Right, nice. And I find that when I have my list of songs, I then put them together in types of songs. That's my next step. I've got my this list of, let's say it's 80 songs. Far too many. It's going to drive you mad staring at 80 songs all day. So I think, okay, I'll put here's the sort of lively, short, snappy ones that could perhaps be a good opener. Here's an emotional ballad. Here are the Latin flavour songs. Here's songs about falling in love or falling out of love. And I put them in little sections.
Yeah, absolutely. And up-tempo songs as well, because I find cabaret, I've seen a lot of cabaret shows where people just sing ballad after ballad, and you've got to, as much as you want to sing those songs because you like them, you've got to remember that the audience actually might want to slit their wrists if there's too many ballads. And then also you might have 5 songs that you really want to do, but you think, oh, actually that would make a nice little medley of doing, 16 bars of something, and just being creative, and maybe having you can do 10 bars of one song, and then if you've got a really great musical director as well, they might be able to put another song within the song.
So when it comes to then putting the show together, how do you approach that?
Running orders are hard work. I mean, even now I think you need a really good opener, because you need to get their attention. You need them to relax with you. You need something that's that's going to be warm and engaging.
After you have a short, snappy, lively opener,
and
then you're saying something that's warm and engaging to sort of get the audience to relax.
Yeah, I think the second and third songs are always difficult. I would tend to do personality songs, so I would do something about me, like what I did words from Witches of Eastwick,
right,
and changed Timmy sitting in the corner,
right,
and made it about being underconfident, and it's a fun song, and it's a patter song, so
you're making it personal as well.
And you're making it personal.
So I'm here and this is me.
Yeah, completely. And then,
but nothing too edgy, because you want them to be comfortable and to relax and get to know you a little bit.
Absolutely. And then you can bring in the edgy stuff.
Yes. And do you have particular rules for the way that you finish let's say if it's two halves, are there particular ways that you always like to finish the first half and always open the second half?
It's really interesting, because I did for a long time, and then I decided to abandon my rule of, I think it's also quite interesting sometimes to take the audience somewhere where they're not expecting. So I have finished before the end of my first set on something a bit darker. So I think it's...
So there are rules, but we can break them sometimes. But
I think so.
It's helped me a lot. It took me years to discover this, but it helps me a lot to work in sections. So rather than thinking of the set as being 12 or 14 individual songs, I have my opener, and then I have the sort of the next number, but then I might have a section of 3 songs, or a section of 4 songs, or a section of 3 more songs, which are of a particular theme, and that helps me a lot as well. It stops me. It helps me sort of focus a little. I think, okay, I'm going to focus on this section now, which is all about the latter part of this person's career, or about working with Judy Garland, or about working on both sides of the Atlantic, or about whatever it may be, working in London, or London shows, or working in the 60s or the 80s, or whatever it may be. This helps me to focus my attention a little bit into sections. Do you do that?
Yeah, I do actually. I have done that in the past. You just saying that reminded me of the section we did actually in Over the Rainbow, which was places. So we did a foggy day in London town, going into I Love Paris, going into I Happen to Like New York, which was a big section.
And the audience don't need to know what the theme of that bit is, do they? That's your business. You don't need to say, and now we're going to just talk about the places that these guys wrote about. You just, but for your mentality, just to make it easier, you think, well, that's a little chunk, that's a 12-minute bit in the show, and if we need to take 12 minutes out or stick another 12 minutes in the second, we can just take that whole section, and we can hone that with a little bit of script that goes with that.
Yeah, I also think as well the bits between the songs are really important, knowing when to say something and when not to say something.
When do we not say something?
That's an interesting one. I think it depends on the song you've just sung. I think if it's been like a big emotional ballad, maybe you can not say anything, because you let the audience just breathe with that moment, and then you can just do something that's
snap into something
else, rather than having to. Because in Kuala Lumpur I did a lot of talking more than I realised. Yeah, I think I was only supposed to do 45 minutes, and my first set was an hour, but they were happy with it. They were just like, fine. And also because, I with my presenting stuff now, I will talk to the audience. So, I will have conversations with somebody.
And let's talk about talking to the audience, because it seems that, you must have seen this a lot, that people can be great singers, but when it comes to the talking, that's the bit that people struggle with, isn't it? How do you help performers who aren't used to talking to an audience overcome that fear?
I think it's a confidence thing, and I think it's one of those things where sometimes you can. I remember when I was learning how to do it, I think I sort of give myself not a false identity, but another identity. So there was Tim.
You were an actor.
Completely. So, but I didn't want to lose Tim, so I treated myself as being a character at that point while I was talking, and that's why I had it all scripted. So it is like having a persona. Like with my radio presenting and my TV presenting, I do have a Tim McArthur persona that will do my style of presenting and my cheekiness, and and that's so I think I think it just comes with experience and just knowing what you want to say and how you want to say something.
Do you advise people to write a script?
Yeah, I think so. If someone hasn't done something before, or the feel of what they want to say, I think is important. Even if it's 5 words, that they know what they want to express, or so they help them remember. Because I think it's also that thing about you have to sound natural between the songs, because that can be the awkward moment.
And how do you help people to sound natural when reading or delivering what's a scripted material?
What I've tended to do in the past is I'll get them to say the script a lot, and then I'll take the script off them and I'll say what you want to say but without the script.
I give myself so much time. I script it months and months in advance, and I practice it over and over and over again. I know it inside out, back to front. I have to know it so well. And then I know that I can make it sound very, very natural. And if somebody drops a plate halfway through a sentence, or somebody shouts something out, or the microphone stops working, it's not going to faze me, because it's second nature. What I'm trying to say is second nature to me.
Yeah, shall I tell you a secret, Gary?
Please.
Before I do a show, the night before, I will talk the whole show through in my pants in my bedroom.
Your pants?
Just in my pants.
Oh, in your pants?
In my pants. So basically, I will just go and I will talk all my links. And I'll do the show in order, and I'll speak all the words to the songs as well. Just so I know they're all there. And that really helps me. And I think that's my acting training coming out, because it's that thing about, sometimes when you're singing a song as well, and you just have that moment of going, oh my goodness me, what's the next lyric? And I think, mentally for me, it's always before I go to sleep, because then I know it's secure and it's there.
And when you're doing this, you're imagining the audience there. You sort of imagine the response that you're going to get. You kind of act in the whole thing. You're smiling, or you might respond to something that you think's going to happen. You basically act through the whole show from top to bottom.
Yeah, completely, without any music.
And blocking it as well. You think, well, I'll move over here a little bit.
Sometimes, or I'll if there's a chair, I'll use the chair, so I know that I'll sit down for that number, and then I'll move.
It's interesting, isn't it, that people will see a cabaret show and think, oh, it's just a bloke and a piano, there's hardly anywhere to go. When it's done well, it does look as if they've just turned up and we've sort of thrown it together. It's just, well, this is just what I do, and I'm telling it, oh, this is a funny, I must tell you about this thing that happened to me last week. But for us to get it right, we've rehearsed that story about the funny thing that happened last week. And when people see that, that's why I think people think, well, it's just easy to do until they're doing it themselves. And it's interesting that you treat it with the same professional approach as you would if it was a 2-act musical.
Yeah, completely. You have to. And that's what it is in a lot of ways. It is a little mini musical about the person on stage and whatever theme they're doing, or what story it is. I also tend to do quite a lot of comedy in my shows as well. I just remember funny things that happen to me, which I think make great stories that I can't possibly say on air. No, I think that's really important as well, to have the fun in it.
Tell me about Edinburgh. It's Edinburgh time again. I know you spent a lot of time there. The question I have for you is it worth it?
Oh, well, we did Sister Mary McArthur in Edinburgh at the Gilded Balloon, and amazingly we broke even, which was really, fantastic. I think the thing with Edinburgh, is you've got to have a really good venue. You've got to have good marketing and somewhere decent to stay. I like a room to be comfy, and I like a decent bed, because that affects my mentality. And it is I think it really just depends on your venue, your time slot, and you've got to remember that you probably won't make any money, but it is an amazing experience.
Why?
It's just exciting, and it's hard work. I think we did 2 shows. We did an adult show, and then we did children's sing along with Sister Mary in the morning, which was hilarious. Getting up at 10:30. So I spent most days dressed as a nun, and then you have to do all the. We got asked to do loads of other appearances, like on the Hamilton show, and then Topping and Butch, we went on their show, and then we did some late night comedy stuff,
Which is all great for promoting your own show.
Absolutely, publicity wise, and you just have to do everything. You just have to get your flies out, sleep with as many people as you can. Do you know what I mean? It's always you're constantly working to get people to come and see your show. However, I think it's slightly changing. I was there last year because I directed News Review at the Pleasance, and the Free Fringe now seems to be growing more and more, which is all these venues that are not charging people anything to perform, and they are just really random venues. And I think a lot of people now are performing on the Free Fringe when they just pass a bucket round at the end and they just get the money. The venues get the money at the bar. So it's going to be interesting to see how, in the next couple of years, how much the Free Fringe is going to actually be in competition with the venues that actually charge people a lot of money to perform.
You mentioned the things having a good venue, a good time slot, good publicity. You didn't actually mention the quality of the show, and that there's a wide range of qualities of shows in Edinburgh.
They are. I think that was my producer head coming on then talking about that. Yeah, and obviously your show's got to be good. I mean, with the Sister Mary show we did for Edinburgh, I think we spent about 5-6 months writing it and getting it together and knowing what sections again. And it was a story of her life because she thinks her mother's Elaine Page. She's found on the doorsteps of St. Peter's of the Sister of the Third who moved in Soho in a handbag, and attached was a short note around her neck which read, "This has fallen out of Elaine Page, please look after it for Elaine Page, kiss, kiss, kiss Elaine Page." I mean, obviously her mother's Barbara Dixon. Do you know what I mean? So, and then it just told the story of her being in the convent, and her love of showbiz. And
how difficult is it to get a great venue like Gilded Balloon? I mean, it's all... You've rattled through the important things, but for anybody listening to this that hasn't performed in Edinburgh before and thinks, well, I've got a good show, I think I can do well in Edinburgh, I'd like to perform at the Gilded Balloon, what practically do they do? How do they do it? How do they find a good publicity person? How do they find a good time slot?
Yeah, you sort of negotiate with the venue, and I think it's finding the venue.
So you contact the venue directly?
Yeah, and I think it's depending on the style of your show. Like, obviously, Sister Mary is a nun, a man in a nuns, so obviously the Gilded Balloon obviously thought that fitted in their variety of what shows they wanted to present.
So a good start would be to have been to Edinburgh yourself and got the Fringe Guide and seen as much stuff as you can and think, okay, I can see the kind of show that I do is performed in this place, and because the kind of show that I do is American Songbook kind of cabaret is quite different to your kind of cabaret, and there's a wide range in between. So find the venues through an old Fringe Guide that match, and then contact the venues direct. Now, they must be inundated with all sorts of people. There's got to be some quality control. How can we help the venue, take us seriously?
I think it's if you've got stuff that's recorded, or if you've got images or reviews, I think that also helps to get a good venue. And also, like with Sister Mary, we've been doing it in London for a while, so she had a bit of a back catalogue of things.
Some nice reviews. I always say to people that a show reel is so important.
Yeah, and of course nowadays, there's all the stuff with YouTube, and when people record you doing things, just put stuff out there, I think.
So when you contacted, and this is what you did? You contacted the Gilded Balloon personally. How did you find? How do you find the right person to send the stuff to? Does it matter? Do you send it to director of the artistic director? Who did you send it to?
I think we send it to the programming guy.
Just randomly, the programming guy.
Yeah, we found out, obviously, it's always good to find out the names of the people you're sending stuff to.
Yeah. So you send the stuff off, which was what, by email or by post? Or?
I think it was a bit of email, and I think it was post as well. I think it was and then also we did loads of tryouts. We did Jermyn Street for 2 nights with the show, and then on the way up.
So you can say to people when you're doing those, we're performing here, which also gives you a bit of credibility.
Absolutely, it's selling yourself. Basically.
This is when you're trying to get a venue. I'm talking about. So that early, so months before you even know you're going to be in Edinburgh for sure, you're trying the show out. So when you're sending your stuff, you can say, by the way, we're performing at Jermyn Street, we're performing at the Pheasantry at Peter on the Park, because it may have been around then, wherever, these venues that sound interesting. So this is helping to put you a little few rungs above other people that haven't done anything.
I think we decided, I think it was in the November before that year, that we were going to go and do it. So then I just booked...
like 10 months or something in advance.
Yeah, I just booked the Jermyn Street Theatre and said, right, we'll do try-out dates here. And also when you're gigging as well, it's good to try the new stuff when you're doing the gigs before you actually go, because then you can see how it works.
So you sent your stuff off. Did you wait for a response? Did you keep pestering them? Was it hard to get them to talk to you?
We were really lucky. They said they really wanted it. So.
And you think that was because of the quality of the reviews and you just look like this is a proper show. This is a serious professional outfit.
I think it was the whole package, and also because what they really loved, they loved the idea of the sing-along show for kids as well on a morning. Which was...
Because presumably they've got these morning slots which are harder to... Everybody wants the 8 p.m, 10 p.m. slots, right? So they've got all these morning slots, and they need A, people that are happy to perform then, and B, people that can perform something that's actually going to be appropriate for 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And it, and doing Sister Mary in Edinburgh was it was beneficial, and it actually led to a lot of work. I did get offered a lot of things from people who'd seen the show in Edinburgh. I mean, for 2 years after every Friday night, a radio station in Scotland used to phone me, and people used to confess sins to Sister Mary on the phone. So I'd be sat at home in my pants in my bedroom just doing Sister Mary's voice, you know what I mean, on the phone. It was hilarious.
So once you were there, you get the venue, you're speaking to them, you organise the times, okay, great, you send them the publicity, you're going to be in the programme, you know what you're doing. Then publicity, you mentioned. Now and anybody that's been to Edinburgh will see everybody flyering. You go down the Royal Mile, it takes you half an hour to walk down there, because you're trying to tackle your way through all of these people flying. And I think, does it actually work? And would I want to spend 2 hours a day flying, begging people to come and see my show? Would I have to do that? Could I just rely on having a wonderful publicity person? And if I do, is it going to cost me a fortune?
I think you have to just get out there. I think it's just a case of, we did lots of flyering. Catherine Ives, who was the producer, had a real life cardboard cutout made of Sister Mary. So when I wasn't flyering, she would stand next to a life-size Sister Mary and hand flyers out. And it's also, the great thing about us is we had the gimmick because it was a nun. And I was so lucky because I remember we went to some park fair thing, and there was a photograph of this kid giving a kid a balloon which made page 3 of the Scotsman. So it was like a 3, do you know what I mean? It's like things like that. It's just being seen and getting out there, I think, is really, really important.
And if you weren't out there that day, that wouldn't have happened. So you kind of make your own luck just by getting out there, performing everywhere you can. How many hours a day would you spend sort of in promoting your show?
Well, the first show was at 10:30, so I used to walk over the meadows with Sister Mary in my case, and then we do the kids show, and then we'd come back, and then had about 2 hours, and then for the second show.
So on the way to the venue, would you be promoting? Would you be flying?
But I wasn't in costume. But for the adult show in the afternoon.
So after you said the 2 hours, so you do your show for the kids, and then
I had 2 hours off.
Oh, 2 hours off. Yeah.
So I'd go back, have something to eat, and then I'd leave the flat dressed as Sister Mary for that one. So I'd walk to the venue in costume.
What time?
I think that was about 1 o'clock, I think it was.
And what time was your show?
About 2:30.
Okay, so you'd be flying on the way?
Yeah, flying on the way and talking to people.
For an hour or so, an hour and a half.
And then after we did the show, then I would do another hour's flying.
Okay.
So, and, just being around the venue dressed as a nun.
And would you, I mean, was it just completely random, the flying, or were you trying to target certain people, certain times? Was there any method, or just be out there flying?
There was no method.
Better to be on the Royal Mile where everyone's flying, or in a quiet spot, or flying. I know some people like to fly on exit when people are coming out of shows that might be similar to yours.
Yes, that is exit flying for a similar show is great. I think that's more beneficial sometimes than just standing on the Royal Mile. And
is there any? I mean, how do we know? How did you know that that any of it actually worked? I mean, was there any way of knowing that? Well, I handed out 100 flyers today, and actually I sold 10 tickets for tonight's show from those 100 flyers? Or are we all just doing it thinking, assuming that it works, or has anybody actually tested it?
I really think it does work, actually, because I think people they might not come that night, but they might come 2 days later. And then if a review comes out, and it's just the thing where, and also, you know, we had an amazing poster. You know, the first show was called Celebrity Nun, which was just like Sister Mary's face, as big as you can possibly get on an A4 poster. And then the kids' show was Sister Mary holding an umbrella and flying over a scene of London, and we called it Sister Mary Pops In, which was, you know, Mary Poppins based on that. So it was appealing to the kids. You know, it's just the imagery.
So the posters are important.
Yeah.
You have a good spot in the Fringe guide.
Yeah.
Did you pay for an ad in there? Proper colour ad.
Proper colour ad. All
You think
that.
that's important?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I think you just need the money to be able to make it work.
And how much money? I mean, a rough guide for doing the whole month there. How much? If I was asking for somebody to invest and underwrite the thing, you know, what's the potential loss?
I think our budget was about 15 grand.
Right. And in your show, just you and any musicians?
One other person playing the piano.
Okay, so that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and I think obviously the venue was expensive, accommodation was very expensive,
And that is all included in the 15 grand.
completely.
So what could we say? Somewhere between £10,000 and £20,000 even.
easily, and you know, that was like 5-6 years ago, and I'm sure things have gone up a lot more now as well.
So we should say good luck to anybody that's thinking
Yes.
of going to Edinburgh this year. Any last final tips?
Just look after yourself, I think, in Edinburgh as well. I think health is really important. Don't have too many late nights, because it's so easily to do the show and be on a high, and that's what Edinburgh is. It's just a month of being on a massive high and just working hard and playing hard, and because you've got to go out to meet people, to publicise your show, and just taking use of every opportunity, you know, that's going to help promote your show. So if you meet someone who's a radio presenter, get them to interview you. Do you know what I mean? Find out. It's really important. With the venues, they'll know what press are coming in to see your show and what producers are coming in to see your show as well. So ask them for a list. They're normally very good, and they email you a list of what press you've had in and what producers, industry people you're getting as well. But also chase all those leads up as well after the show. Find out what they thought.
And speak to them personally.
Yeah, speak to them personally. Sleep with them if you have to.
Thank you for your final nugget of advice. Thank you for listening to this Cabaret Secrets podcast. If you've got any comments or questions, please visit cabaretsecrets.com, where you'll also find details of the Cabaret Secrets book, an indispensable guide on how to create your own show, travel the world, and get paid to do what you love.